Here. Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, that's great. I'll check that later. Thank you. Yeah, have a good weekend. So, getting back to Quebec Crown prosecutors, I was prosecuted. You know, it's one thing to be arrested for public nuisance. It's another thing to be prosecuted for it. And I will add that I may not have said this. What I was actually arrested for was violating section 176.3 of the Canadian Criminal Code, which prohibits, or I should say prohibited, because it is also being repealed, it prohibited disrupting the order and solemnity of church services, religious services. So basically, Montreal Unitarians were using a law that was really intended to prevent disruptions inside churches to shut down a peaceful public protest outside the church. It was a real stretch of that law. So it took me about 3 years of several different court dates to be acquitted of that completely bogus charge. The Crown prosecutor who prosecuted me could not prove a single one of the 4 or 5 points of law that he had to prove beyond reasonable doubt to obtain a conviction. He actually threw in the towel after I had cross-examined the prosecution witnesses, who were Montreal City Councillor Jeremy Searle, who had pressured the Westmount SPVM police, that is Station 12, Poste de Quartier 12. Jeremy Searle had pressured them to arrest me, and they finally succumbed to that pressure. The other prosecution witness was Valmir Bourdon. And so under questioning by me, it became obvious that I was not guilty of disrupting the order and solemnity of church services at the Unitarian Church of Montreal by protesting against clergy abuse outside of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. In fact, I basically destroyed the credibility of the prosecution witnesses and destroyed any hope of obtaining a conviction in about 90 seconds worth of questioning of Valmir Bourdon. I asked Valmir Bourdon if I could be heard inside the church while my protest was going on. He truthfully answered no. So he truthfully answered that I could not be heard. So how can I disrupt a service inside the Unitarian Church of Montreal if I can't even be heard? You know, I wasn't making a lot of noise. I'm still not making a lot of noise. I didn't have megaphones and this and that. Even if I did, you know, I would expect the walls of the church to be reasonably soundproof, and that it, you know, probably wouldn't have even been heard even if I was making a fair bit of noise outside. But in any case, he acknowledged that I could not be heard. You know, so then I asked, "Can you see me when I'm outside the church protesting?" He answered yes. And I knew for a fact that that was almost impossible in terms of the sanctuary of the church, because it's basically mostly a brick wall facing east out onto the street. And that brick wall has just a few slit windows in it, one of which is completely blocked by a memorial to the firefighters who were killed when the transsexual organist of the Unitarian Church of Montreal burned down the Unitarian Church of Montreal in May of, I think, 1987, if I remember correctly. So one window is completely blocked. The other two are way up high. You know, anyone looking through those windows is just going to see sky. There's really only one slit window looking out onto the street where someone could potentially see me briefly as I went by that window, unless they were staring out it or something. But the seats of the congregants are perpendicular to that window. They're facing 90 degrees that way, the window's over there. So basically, nobody could see me unless they wanted to. And all they would see very briefly, if they tried really hard, was sort of the top of my head going by the window. So I knew that. So my next question to Valmir Bourdon was, "How can you see me?" He said, "People are staring at you through the lobby windows." Well, yes, the Unitarian Church of Montreal does have an atrium-like lobby, as it were. I wouldn't say maybe atrium-like, but it's got a big plate glass window facing east, looking out onto the sidewalk, looking out on the street. So Valmir Bourdon is saying, well, people are staring at your protest through that big plate glass window in the lobby. Next question. Do you celebrate church services in the lobby? Answer. No. Poor thing. He was so disappointed that his whole ridiculous attempt to get me, convicted of disrupting the church services was. He knew it was done. Like he knew that it was over. But I think I did ask one. Oh yes. What question did I ask? I asked, has a church service ever actually been disrupted? And I think he said yes. And I said, how? Oh, well, I feel terribly uncomfortable inside knowing you're out there protesting, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Your internal feelings during a protest are not a disruption of the protest. You might feel bad, but that's not disrupting the service. Did I say disrupting the protest? Sometimes I get a little dyslexic or whatever. So, getting back to things, Valmir Bourdon, not to mention Jeremy Searle, they answered both pretty much the same way when I questioned them. I think Valmir Bourdon was the second one I questioned. Valmir Bourdon essentially was saying that the fact that he feels uncomfortable inside knowing I'm protesting outside the church was a disruption of the service in terms of him personally, I guess. Well, excuse me, it's not a disruption of the service. So my next question was, has a church service ever stopped and started again as a result of my protest outside the church? His answer, no. So 3 no's out of Valmir Bourdon finally. He admitted he couldn't hear me. He admitted he couldn't see me. And, well, at least he admitted that they didn't celebrate church services in the lobby, even though people were staring at me. And they do. I've seen members of the church staring at my protest out that lobby window, but that's hardly a disruption of the church service, which takes place in the sanctuary. And even if they were holding services in the lobby, even if they were holding services, with a big plate glass window where my protest is seen, that's not disturbing the service itself. If people are looking at me, they're the ones that are, if anyone's disturbing things, it's them. I just want to make sure this is still running. Yes, but we just got about 5 minutes left. So I'm noticing nobody's shown up yet. It's possible that the church shut down for the summer, or maybe they're having a church picnic. I was here last Sunday and a similar kind of thing happened, so they may well show up actually, because I was there, at around 9:30, 9:45, and there was nobody. It really looked like maybe they weren't coming, but then they did show up because the service starts at 10:30. They tend to arrive late. In fact, I can check my timepiece here and see what the store. 9:54. Well, I think 1 or 2 of them should have showed up by now, so maybe they're not going to show up. Well, that's no big deal. This is a peaceful public protest. It's for the public too. We got a couple of people there walking their dogs, so they see the protest. And even if they don't, even if nobody saw this protest, although several people have already, if nobody saw this protest, well, guess what? It's on video. I'll put it up on YouTube, and anyone can watch the protest on YouTube, which is one of the reasons, but not the only reason I video my protests, film my protests. The other is to protect myself from false accusations. And the number one reason why I run video almost constantly of my protests is because Montreal Unitarians, to say nothing of other Unitarians, have brought false accusations against me. I want to be able to prove what really happened. So let's see, where are we now? Okay, just a few more minutes. So I probably have time to say this. On January 4th of 2014, if I remember correctly, I was protesting outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal. It was first Sunday in the new year of 2014. I stepped off the sidewalk out of the way so that Margot Ellis, a member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, former president of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, had plenty of room to pass by me. She did not. She barged right into me with a body check worthy of a female rugby player. She elbowed me. She knocked me right off my feet. I landed on my back in the snow. That's called assault. So I had this assault recorded on video. I had my reaction to that assault recorded on video, which was non-violent. I chewed her out verbally, but I did not attack her physically. I think maybe, now it just recently occurred to me that maybe that's what she wanted. Maybe she wanted me to react to her body check by physically attacking her so that she could then accuse me of assaulting her. Because that's what happened. That's what happened. Like, I protested for an hour. I was debating whether or not to call the police. I said, oh, it's not an emergency. I can call them later in the week and report it and see what they want to do. But what happened is an hour later, the cops showed up and I was being accused of assault. I was accused of pushing down a woman. I just want to make sure this is still running because I know we're near the end. Yeah, just a few minutes left. 2 minutes to go here. 2 minutes to go. So that's it. It's like literally an hour after Margot Ellis assaulted me, a bunch of SPVM police cars and a bunch of SPVM officers, I think it was 3 cars, certainly 2, there's at least 2 cars, and a handful of officers, at least 3 or so officers, maybe 4 or 5. One of them was, he didn't put it exactly, he didn't say assault, but he basically said that they had been told that a woman had fallen down outside the church as a result of my actions. Essentially, they're insinuating that I'd assaulted a woman. No such thing. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up, but this just goes to show what outrageous liars Unitarians are in their abusive misuse of the SPVM police force and the criminal justice system to shut down my protest against clergy abuse, which does in fact include such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. And yes, we got about a minute left. So I will just add to this that it is the 23rd of June. I might not have mentioned that. 23rd of June. Don't see anyone here yet. Maybe I'll take the camera off the tripod. So there was a guy to cut the grass earlier, but as we can see, no cars, nobody's shown up. I just want that to be clear. They may show up. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to continue protesting for a bit. But it's possible that no Unitarian's going to see my protest today. But it'll be on YouTube. It'll be available to be seen by the public on YouTube. And so one thing I'm noticing though is a sign back there. It actually has the name of the music and choir director, musician and choir director. That's what it says. Hey, my eyesight's not that